leaving Colorado, and literally my trailer went out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, well, better go find a door to knock on. And a dude jumped the fence on the highway and knocked on it. I was like, hey dude, my car. Like, I just want to get shot. And
Eliav, were you in JYD or a different organization?
So I was in Sweat originally.
Nice.
And then I was old school Robert Hicks, his real fuddy-duddy. That was the word he used all the time. And then after that, I was part of OWEIS with Chris Fugman. Right. And then my last 2 years, I was with Eagle Blitz, which I don't know. Most of my stuff happened before then. My last 2 years, it was a different experience. I was working with Henry Bedford on some stuff.
And how would you want us to delineate your organization? OWEIS, maybe?
Hold on.
I would say the majority of my stuff was through OWEIS, was with Chris Fugman. That's where like where really my whole experience and growth and everything happened with.
I mean, that's my direct lineation. Zach Reisberg and Grayson Jones and all those people.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing is before we go live is I will do this for you if you want me to. Some people love recognition, but do you want to talk about like how you did, or some people have completely out?
Yeah. I was top 10 a couple times. I mean, I did fine, but I don't think that necessarily is, you can definitely ask me. I mean, I've hit more. I was,
okay.
I was
top
that. 10, pretty like between top 20 and top 10 every year, but I just found book selling hilarious. So.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. Cause you're a humble dude. That's awesome. I appreciate that. So I'll just brag about it for you when we introduce you. So can I ask you
I recruited big teams and ended up, and then I worked with Henry, I created basically the, with Southwestern Edge, right? When it was just coming out, I was creating the initial videos for kids, like on my crappy iMovie before Rory Vaden was doing real ones, of like the worst videos ever around like teaching like, basic skills, which is hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's pretty epic. Oh man, dude, I am excited for this one. I've been
We're
excited
going live,
for all of them.
By the way.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I got it. I want to introduce our guest, Eliav Cohen. Did I say that right? Cohen, not Cohen. Cohen. Okay, cool. Dude, oh my gosh, this is a warm up before we went live, just talking to you. I'm like, we're going to have a good episode today. They all have been great. Thank you to all the guests so far, but this one's a little different because just like the last few, I don't know you at all. I've never met you in my life.
I think that's part of though, like the coolest thing about selling books is you will meet someone completely random and then find out they sell books and then all of a sudden you have this like awkward tight relationship, even though you have no idea who the hell they are. I was chatting with this guy in Burien where I live outside of Seattle, and he's this chiropractor, super happy dude, super positive, great business. And then I was talking to Ron Alford and he goes, dude, that guy sold books, right? I'm like, what do you mean he sold books? So I saw him at the coffee shop, outside with our masks on, and ended up chatting for like another hour about selling books. So I think sometimes you just meet random people and it's like this weird, like brotherhood of like, of awkwardness and awesomeness.
Yeah.
It ends up occurring where you feel like people either way,
It's just wild how we're just kind of bred that way, right? Like you can almost spot one. I mean, have you ever like met someone that you're like, they got to be a book person, and they weren't? You're like, whoa, like it's almost like a breed of person that makes.
There's certain salespeople that I've run into where we discovered that they sold books based on that, but mostly it comes up in conversation anyway. But I think more for that it was I did Landmark as well. I don't know if you heard of that stuff, but like I would find and be like, oh, that person definitely did Landmark, or that person definitely sold books. They're like, just ends up being certain breeds in the way they speak, or there's certain words or their tone in the way they, speak in public speaking is kind of wild too. It's the same Dan Moore style, intonation.
Yeah. Or they'll say something like, you know what, I just got to persist till I succeed and just greet this day with love in my heart. And you're like, wait. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know. Oh, actually, that's about my Portland story. That's what I was going to tell you
Oh yeah.
about. Can
You
I tell
met
you that
some
right?
crazy people in Portland, like some random book
I'll tell you
people or
that. This is a
something, right?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? It says my connection.
Yeah, you might be a little delayed.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like
So I
a
was in
5
Portland. I went to
second.
visit Will Metcher. I don't know
delay.
if you ever met. Oh, dang it. Dang it.
We'll not interrupt you. You tell your
It's a
story.
bummer.
And we'll
Okay, let's hear about yours.
Done.
Okay. So this is hilarious either way, but whatever. I'm just gonna tell the story and then the internet will come back. If it hops me out, you guys can just keep chatting. I'll get back on as soon as I can. But okay, so I was in Portland, visiting Will Metcher. I don't know if you know Will, but Will's a stud
Yeah,
book guy.
I know Will.
Hopefully, hopefully we'll get him on the podcast soon. But anyway, so he was visiting. He had some buddies that he needed me.
Wow, looks like his internet is rough.
Goodbye, Andres. He's out of here.
Well, we'll see him when he gets back on.
Yeah, and how I can carry on the show, to paraphrase his story here, because I've heard it. He was trying to hang out with Will Metcher, and he was dating a girl at the time that lived in Portland, and they wound up going to a bar. I don't know the details beyond he met somebody who was a bit older, like in their 60s or 70s, found out they sold books, and it was like, whoa, no way. So and that's where he like had this experience that, you know, it's like capturing magic in a bottle is what he was trying to do with this podcast, is to try and recreate getting to know somebody over, you know, nothing but a cult that we all were a part of, right? So
yeah, I think that there were, you know, when I was in Colorado, is interesting because, you know, I'd gone there to recruit and I ended up, you know, they always say like, hey, you should call it their alumni, you know, have them come talk to your team meetings and it'll help you team member and find good people. And I ended up meeting Todd McWhorter, and who's amazing. I mean, just ended up being a good friend, just an absolute rock star.
Yeah.
And there were like 10 different people that I ended up getting to know. They were like older alumni that were just really like unbelievable people.
Yeah.
And through them, I mean, we've done all kinds of random business stuff with them, and later on, you know, it's wild.
That is pretty cool. So, you know, getting the chance to run into somebody is pretty fun. And ultimately what we just like doing is just sharing the craziest stories of, you know, the book field. And you were already telling us you got a whole bunch of those lined up, not just of your own, but because you helped manage orgs, and stuff goes haywire with everybody's summer, which is why we think book people are so drawn to, you know, what this podcast can be, right? It's just like a crazy story fest. Obviously, we want to talk about anything else that you feel important to share to such an audience, but I don't know if you want to start out at the start or really just dive into anywhere else in your book story, but how long ago did you sell some books, and for how long, and what got you into it? And I remember you saying you were over there in Iowa, even though you're from Colorado.
Yeah,
So,
I grew in Boulder and went to school in the middle of, you know, a cornfield in Iowa, basically this tiny little school. And this, my freshman year, this dude, Zach, he had, I guess, taken a year off. His name was Zach Boucher, or Zach Boucher, something like that. Anyway, sorry, Zach, I just totally screwed up your name. Anyway, nice dude. And he was down on the red carpet in kind of our union area. And he's got his, like, you know, your little questionnaires. And I went up to him and I was like, started filling out a questionnaire. And I go, so what is this? And he's like, got the books out, and he goes, oh yeah, we sell educational books door to door, which is like super direct. And I was like, that sounds stupid. I would never do that. That is the dumbest thing anyone could ever do.
Yeah.
That is literally what I said. And then I filled out the paper with fake information saying I was a triple major,
No, you're the worst.
you know, 4.0, all
been the worst.
literally made stuff up. But and I didn't even put a real phone number. And he looked me up, called me on like my dorm phone, because it's still dorm phones. This is 2001,
Nice.
right?
Okay.
I got a cell phone, people still have dorm phones, right?
Yeah.
And so he called me and he's like, yeah, you're recommended for this interview. I was like, oh, it sounds awesome. Like, had no idea. it was off of that. And
No way.
so anyway, I go to the meeting and he starts running through. I go, all right, like this sounds like there's obviously a lot of famous people because I was super naive at that point around like thinking like Ken Starr was cool or something. Or like Carey, right?
The voice of passion.
So anyway, but I was like, okay, if all these famous people do it, it must be like something they must have gotten out of this. And the dude was, confident compared to my like zero amount of confidence. I think he was going on like his third summer.
Yeah.
And anyway, I basically was like, yeah, this sounds awesome. Talked to my mom, who's like, hell no, you're not doing that. And she basically, my mom was like, look, I want to talk to other like kids' moms that have done this. Randomly, who does he give me the number of? This girl, Kia Alkema, who is Kia Chandler, who happened to be the #1 dealer that last year. So she talked to her and she's like, oh yeah, her only regret was she bought too many cars. And I was like, okay. And I was like, go for it. And so
the money's there.
I was basically like, you know what? It's going to be an adventure. And I decided at that point, like, I mean, Zach was a little wild. There were 2 of us recruited from the school, myself, my buddy Owen, and we kept going to like these random things at Iowa, and I didn't really University of Iowa. And it was, we had a 5-6 man team. All of us from that team, I think like probably 4 of us sold 5 or 6 summers from that team. So Zach didn't continue on after that, but the rest of us
should have
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 summers. So
dang,
you obviously picked good people,
the
right folks.
Well, that's cool. And that was back in 2001, right? And yeah, where did you go sell for that first summer?
So I was Posey County, Indiana, which is the meth capital of the United States.
Oh, that's what they all say. Come on.
So it was, yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty wild because, my first, basically they're like, hey, you've got your sales talk, go knock on a random door, go get a permit. And I was like, I don't need a permit. Like, I just didn't basically follow any of the rules. So I went that first day, and, my very first house, I knock on it, and there's the first door, and the lady goes, oh, are you selling books? Like, oh, you guys haven't been here in 8 years. I've wanted to get them. And I was like, this job is so easy.
Right.
So then after that, my approach was, yeah, pretty much you probably know someone from like 8 years ago. It just like slammed door in my face for like, forever. But it was definitely, it was, and then very, very quickly, the police officers and sheriffs kicked me out of town for not having a permit, and learned a hard lesson and sold in the country the rest of the summer.
The country's the best though. Did you sell better in the country or in city turf?
I mean, my first summer, realistically, like my first summer, I wasn't someone who was just like, hey, I need to do 30 demos every day. I didn't keep track of a single stat because I didn't know any better. I looked at Southwestern, as it was an adventure, right? Like,
oh my God,
I was just going to keep working and knocking on doors. And I didn't like people, my manager would be like, why didn't you get 30? So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to make up my numbers, because why would I care to get berated by this dude when I'm selling books anyway? So and I love the recognition, but my first summer, I literally made up every number. So I just remember him literally going, Eliav, so how many sit downs did you have today? I was like, oh, like 37. Like, my numbers made no sense either, and and eventually, no one ever called me out because I had started crushing it, only because I kept working. Right. So it wasn't that I just literally looked at my whole summer as like, this is fun meeting ridiculous people. And like, I'm not giving up. I'll find a way to do it. And I'm just going to go have some like crazy conversations with people. And that's all I did. And so, I mean, I never found that like 30 demo thing. Like, I was just like, just keep going and you'll make money. I'm never going to be #1 doing that way, but can you be top 10, top 15, top 20? Of course. Of course.
So that's how you were your entire career, or just that first summer?
No. So my first summer, because I didn't know any of my stats, my second summer, I was like, oh God, now I have to like lead by example. And, and of course my second summer we're selling in California. So go Posey County, Indiana to San Francisco, right? So I was really nervous those first couple of 4 weeks because I was just trying to get demos in. And finally, like I was just selling like 200 units a week, getting my ass kicked. It was the previous summer I hit 400 or 500 in a week and was a top first year, top 30 or something first year. And I was just getting my butt kicked. And finally, Chris Fugman, he goes, Eliav, stop trying to just do demos and like be good. Just go have fun and do what you do.
So
and all of a sudden I started producing.
Go back to your old ways.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it went from like, that was like week 7 or week 6. And then all of a sudden, like I did 1,200 units in 6 weeks. And then week 7 got back on my game. And then week 8 hit 940 and then 850. And then I was just under more, like 990 or so 980.
Wow.
So I tripled my summer in the last 3 weeks.
That's badass.
Because I stopped focusing on that. So eventually I got to the point, like, I understand why do demos.
Yeah,
but
scalability and all that.
Yeah, but it wasn't about I think that, in all sales, it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you're having fun, like, and you're enjoying it, you're going to kick ass.
Absolutely.
Right?
Hopefully Andres can join us for real this time. I might have to go and let the dogs out, or let the dogs back in. I let them out right before this episode. So Andres, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I just decided to come on my phone because my Wi-Fi is being terrible, but now I'm on my phone. Do I need to try this way?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Oh,
So we were just talking about the first and second summers and how, going from like just looking for swing sets, slinging butt, swing set by swing set, right? And then actually doing pre-approach and demos and how that just kind of clogs up the system. So that's kind of
I could hear you guys, but my sound was glitching in and out, and so I was catching up. I love that story of your first summer. You kind of just went and did whatever. It's like, I'm gonna just go jam.
Yeah, but you have to understand. I mean, I remember like there was this. I can't remember who it was, but I remember that first week. Like I got my ass kicked, right? Yeah. And I'd sold I think I had 4 customers, and like only one like gave me money. And this other kid, his name was Eric. I don't remember his last name. I'd probably find him in somewhere, but he had 30 customers his first week. And I was like, that dude isn't even cool or good looking. Like, what the hell? And I saw, he'd worked 85 hours and I was like, whatever, and eventually I was like, all right, if that dude can do it, I'm just going to outwork that dude and just work harder and more hours. And I'll find a way to beat him. And by week 3, my first summer, I was crushing him, but so he had a fast start, but it was just like the habit setting, but it wasn't the habits of like, oh, do 30 demos, oh, get out in 20 minutes. It was, I'm going to have a positive attitude and have fun and enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep going and meeting people till whatever freaking hour it is. And that's like what I've done throughout my whole sales career. I've never been like, I have to do this exact number, because I know it doesn't matter. I know it's really just like having fun and being like your attitude being infectious on people just works. People get excited,
What was it? There's like last case scenario. It's hard to say no to smiling idiot or whatever. It's like, if you're just having a ball, then it's like, you can just enjoy it. What ways did you like have fun in the book? I mean, everybody's kind of has like different ways that they message Mrs. Jones. Like as an example, my brother and I would sometimes pretend like he was a mute. Like Mark Rao gave us that one. One time we pretended like he was selling, but he didn't speak Spanish, so I was his interpreter. And so I was like, hi, are you the mom? This is Danny. Danny's the one selling books, and like just a third person. It was so. Did you do anything like that for fun while you were out there in the book field?
I guess maybe I probably wasn't as that fun, but I think the most fun I had was screwing with people in demos. So there was one summer, my buddy Nick Roy, who I recruited out of UConn, and Nick Roy, you should have him on sometime. He's a famous magician now.
What?
And
okay, we got to get him on.
So that summer, I recruit Nick and I are living together, and I was a professional magician back in high school. right? So we had connected over magic. It's how I recruited him. So we're living together, and we start like buying $50, $100 magic tricks online to like learn stuff to screw with people while we were selling, right? To have like fun.
Yeah.
So
No
the first one
way.
we get is I've actually been teaching my 5-year-old do it. It's how to float things, right? So it uses, I'll tell you the secret because you can look it up online. It's called IT line. It's invisible thread. Okay.
Right.
So you put a piece of tape behind your ear, and then it's this thin piece of, it's so thin you cannot see it. And you hook a little with wax to your thumbnail, right? So I'd be in the middle of a demo, I'd go, now let me tell you what's really amazing about these. These are actually magical books because the pages turn themselves.
That's so
You guys ready? And I put it on there, and all I do is move my hand like this, and the page would flip, right?
yes.
And they'd always buy. I mean, it was just like being dumb. But I remember coming back to deliver the books, and dad's not there, who had bought them the kids, and mom goes, so these are like magical books or something. Like,
That's so awesome.
yeah, so we would screw on people that way. I mean, I definitely, had whenever I'd run into some old person, I would just only speak Spanish because I thought it was funny until the point that they would go, I don't speak English, your language. I'd be like, oh, I didn't realize like you spoke English. I'm so sorry.
That's hilarious. That's
but-
epic, man.
But eventually it came off that a lot of that having fun was just like actually my attitude sucked, to be honest. Like you end up like trying to do things that at the expense of other people, just trying to like get yourself out of funk, even though that's causing you to kind of be in that funk, like overly sarcastic with people. But the only other really funny one that happened was, do you guys remember Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so you know how he runs with like his arms at his sides and he like runs ridiculous. So I had I don't remember, someone was following me, and the guy like goes, no, I'm gonna answer. I go, all right, and I put my hands on my side and turn around, start to run, and I trip on my book bag and just
eat it.
eat it straight into the cement. He's like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm just gonna lay here a minute. So that was the last time I did a Napoleon Dynamite run.
That's awesome, man.
Selling books. But I think also just having like screwing with kids. Like I loved screwing with seniors in high school who were straight A kids who were like too good for you to be there. And it'd be like some, like very smart, obviously like straight A student valedictorian. And I would pull out the MUFUs and just go, so do you know you're like,
right.
like, just
our program
because
starts
you
basic.
you knew they weren't gonna buy. You might as well just like have fun for a moment and be like, I'm just kidding, I'll see you later. And then just asking people about random stuff in their house.
Just like where'd you get that big ass
situations? Yeah, but yeah, I didn't. Other than that, like I just thought it was fun to. I really bought into the positive affirmation and did that constantly. And it was an adventure meeting weird people every day.
Yeah, I love that about selling in
fun,
upstate New York when people have like owl mailboxes and like their house is totally just disgusting, but they love nature, so they've got like a 4-wheeler you can hop on and ride around. It's just like, what's the adventure today?
Yeah.
Oh,
we used to, when I don't think it was Taylor Strolls, this girl used to be in my org, sold like 4 summers, but she would take the MUFUs to like seniors, what you were talking about, and she would tell them it was scratch and sniff, and so she would like scratch and then just, oh man.
So we used to put actual lemon. We would really screw with people. We take lemon and you put that in the MUFU. So for the kids, you show them, you go, yeah, they're scratch and sniff, and you go, but it smells like lemon, right? So the kid's like, no, it smells like lemon, mom. Like,
that's
like
so good.
I did throw a lot of books. I mean, like I'd be like, you're like doing your demo. You're like, at the door trying to do a demo. You're like, and the best part, you use it as a Frisbee. I just like chuck the MUFU as far as I could. And they would just kind of be like, all right. Like I could chew on it. And like, I mean, I really just like enjoyed, I think, making kids laugh and having fun with them. And like that was the other one. Anytime there would be some like girl in high school, I would just always say, hey, Oh, my daughter's not going to come down. Tell her there's a hot college student downstairs. She'd be like, what? I'm like, just be like, there's some like hot college kid here. You should meet him. And then she'd come running down with her, I mean, that's where, but I was always fairly authentic about it, like I really wanted to get to know them and really, have fun in actually helping people, but not just have a service-minded attitude, just because it was, and I enjoyed it. I'm like one of those weird people that like actually enjoyed selling books. Like there were down moments.
Right.
But like for the most part, I really did just enjoy it. It was a weird.
How long were you with Southwestern?
So I sold for 9 summers.
Gotcha.
My last summer, the only reason I came back was, Henry Bedford had become the CEO. He convinced me my 7th summer to come back and to work with him and doing some different stuff around with some really cool strategic stuff Southwestern was doing. So I used to fly out there every 2 weeks. It was really fun. And then I went hot air ballooning with him, and he got me into hot air ballooning because he said, if you're in the top 10, I'll take you flying. And I was like, done. So I was number 7. So I got to go flying. And then I was like, well, I have to come back another summer to buy a freaking hot air balloon. So now I need like 40 grand to buy a damn hot air balloon. So that was my last summer. I worked on the beach in Mark Rowe's neighborhood.
Jacksonville. Wow.
In Jacksonville, right? All Contributor Beach and, Jacksonville Beach. And I literally worked to buy a hot air balloon and take a trip to Cuba. That was all I wanted to do. We skipped Sizzler and went to Cuba. So
that's so
went
cool.
Down there 2 days in, Wade Floyd and I, and
and
this literally ditched Sizzler and got flights to Havana.
That's so cool.
Left. But that was what I sold. That was my only goals that summer. Buy a hot air balloon, go to Cuba.
All right.
That's so crazy. That's awesome.
Definitely a strong enough why, that's for sure.
It was strong enough until you make enough money where you can buy a hot air balloon in the middle of the summer. You like find a lady who'll sell you one for like $9 grand in your truck. So it was motivating, but it also only to a point, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So your first summer was 01, and then you sold through then 2010.
No, 2009. Wait.
2010 was my last summer. Yeah.
Oh, well then that was 10 summers.
Yeah, so my first summer was the same year as Matt Atchison.
Yes.
And Matt Atchison, I just remember him being in the Superstar or in the
with his hair.
His curly hair. And I was like, he's my arch nemesis. Like I never met the dude. Such a nice guy, but I was like, I'm gonna beat Matt. Like
this is his alma mater right here. So I met Matt right before my first summer because he came and gave us a campus talk, and I was like, who's this guy wearing a crazy shirt?
James, his suits were I love the suits that he picked out.
Yeah.
He had a good Tom James.
He's got flair, that's for sure.
Dude, Matt's a stud. If for whatever reason he ends up watching this, dude, you're a freaking stud. Legend.
Come on,
that's pretty awesome.
Come join us. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's so 01 through 2010, and then you went into the hot air balloon business. Have you guys talked about this yet, or was this when I was trying to reconnect? Oh, okay, tell us about what you're doing now, and then like maybe if you want to tie in for any maybe first year watching or something like that, for whatever reason they might be watching, is like how you use your Southwestern skills to kind of help you with what you're doing now and like
so I have 2 different companies. I own a hot air balloon company, which is hilarious that's why I came back my last summer. Henry got me into
that's
ballooning.
epic.
And I got and I'll tell the story of how I got into ballooning with Henry in a second because that was wild. But basically, I did SaaS businesses for big billion-dollar companies, worked with a bunch of book guys that are recruited into those companies too. And I was like, I just don't want to sell like SaaS products and work my butt off for someone anymore. I was like, I just want to do my own thing. And I love ballooning. So I was like, how hard can starting a hot air balloon company be? Surprisingly easy. And so in 5 years, we became the top in the Northwest. And this last year, so now I've got 6, 8, 10, 12 person hot air balloons. We have a fairly large operation in the Northwest flying in front of Mount Rainier. And this last year, I ended up meeting the guys from Amazon they were doing the movie The Aeronaut on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah.
And I met the head of the studios and they said, I said, have you ever been to hot air balloon? And they said, no. I go, do you guys want to come fly with me tomorrow? So I like, you do good things to just do them. You don't expect something out of it, right?
Yeah.
You just do it because it's fun to help people. And I wanted them, the movie is terrifying about a gas balloon in like the 1800s, right? Like terrifying experience, like nothing like ballooning is like. And during the flight, I explained, I want to help young people get into ballooning. And she goes, well, how much, what stops people from getting into ballooning? And I said, it's expensive. And so young people can't get in, but I really want to help young people get in. She goes, do you want some hot air balloons?
Sure.
And it was literally, they said, we have this promotional one from Amazon and from the movie. And she goes, do you want it? And I said, yeah.
That's
I would
awesome.
love that balloon. And
Yeah.
I said, I'd love to help young people. And she goes, do you want some money to help young people get into ballooning? And I said, yes. And she goes, can we brand it Prime Video and Amazon Studios and the aeronauts? I said, that sounds awesome. And I now have a corporate balloon gig where with the support of Prime Video and Amazon Studios, we help young people between 16 and 25 with a focus on women get their hot air balloon license for free.
That's
right.
freaking
That's awesome.
dope.
Yeah. Great connection right there.
So anyway, so that's, and then from there, during the balloon business, that first year I had live chat on my website, right? And the people kept asking the same dumb questions, like how much does it cost?
Right.
Can I book a ride? And I was like, how do I automate this? I don't want to talk to anyone. So I built an AI chat bot, and eventually it answered every question. I became one of the top specialists in the world in building AI chatbots. Now I build them for public companies and giant enterprise and natural language where you can ask any question. It pulls from the content of your site and gives the actual answer.
That's badass.
And it's amazing. But
what?
So basically think about this.
That's so freaking cool.
So let's say you have a site with like, I don't know, like a giant company, right? Let's say like any site, you take Southwestern, right? We could take Southwestern's site and you could ask any question and any blog post, anything they've ever done. You could say, who is the top #1 student in 1968? And if that was on the site, it would tell you. Or
That's
if you
awesome.
said, what's a positive affirmation? It would tell you. Or if you said like, hey, name 4 alumni that are senators, it would tell you who they were because it's on the
so
site.
No
cool.
freaking way.
Wow.
That is so
Stupid
cool.
So here's what's wild with the tech and how it fits into Southwestern. So when I first started building bots, basically a chat bot, when it hits a site, you need an opener, right? An opener is something that is contextual.
Hey, welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, like so most people, their openers are like, welcome to our site. We're idiots, or
Yeah.
you want to talk to us. So I started looking, I go, well, why don't we just do something contextual? So the hot air balloon site, I said, want to see us flying from front of a volcano? Well, Mount Rainier is a volcano. 30% of all people clicked on it.
That's cool.
And I was like, well,
Genius.
that's interesting.
So it's a way to engage people first, get them familiar with the chat process.
Fantastic.
So think about Southwestern.
Oh, wow.
This is what's so cool about because I use this skill every day and how I build bots. So think about when you're selling books, right? Your first day, you go up to a house in your first year, you have no skills, right? So you you just say, hi, my name's Eliav. I'm sitting down with all the parents and teachers with kids in school, showing some educational books. Everyone's getting up with homework in the fall. Apologize, talking real fast. Got a place to sit down, right? And you get in only a couple doors. Then you go, oh, if I know what school they go to, it helps. So then you say, hi, my name's I'm sitting down with all the parents and teachers at Brentwood Academy. You guys are at Brentwood, right? Now, think about how that fits into a bot. Because I can read your IP address, I know what company you are from. I know 60 attributes about you. It is like unlimited pre-approach, right? So
that's crazy.
So let's say you come to the site, right? I work with this company that does, it's a company that's about to go public, so I can't talk about the names, but basically they do medical devices for like ultrasound stuff, right? And so when someone comes to the site, I know if they're a hospital. I know if they're an anesthesiology office. I know if they're an ENT.
Wow.
And I know, so I can literally say in the chatbot, hey, we're really excited to talk to the Children's Hospital of Ohio. around your ultrasound technology in giving better readings for your emergency room. That is literally like saying at the door, "Hi, are you Sarah? Great. You guys were at Brentwood Elementary School with blank, 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 and blank. Hey, you know all these other people." It's like ultimate context.
Incredible.
Right? So when I look at selling books, everything was context. Well, when you're building bots, it's the same thing. So it's not just in the opener, it's then asking closing questions. It's using the choice of two positives. It is literally.
So Eliav, question
selling
for you
books.
then. Question for you then. This is from Larry Anderson. How do we know that you're not a chat bot that's just answering questions right now?
I am you know what's funny? If you guys take the transcript from this, you could literally, we could put it into a chatbot if you guys want to. If you do the transcription, I do mine on Grain and stuff to get transcriptions from these.
Haven't done that yet, so
you could farm it out. We could literally have a chatbot that takes every single one of these and say, tell me a good pony story. Tell me about people who sold in California. You could ask any question, and it would literally answer it.
That's so cool.
That's so cool. Holy moly.
So the context side of that is freaking wild, right? And it gets deeper and deeper as you start to look at how do you design bots for sales to like ask closing questions or use intent. So like you can test the water, right? Just like you would in selling books. And
trial close. Yeah.
And then the same thing happens in ballooning, right? When you're ballooning, you land on a random people's yard, right? Like literally you don't know where you're gonna land.
That's so
Although
funny.
if the FAA is listening, they're all designated landing spots, and I know exactly, and I always have permission. Okay, now that I've said that. So we land a lot of the same spots. Like you try to form relationships, right? But here's what's funny. When I went flying with Henry, that first flight went up to 10,000 feet, right? With his son at the time, in the dark. We almost landed at Naomi Judd's house because there are all these celebrities. And like we ended up landing in this like random person's backyard, right? Well, Henry's go-to was, we were running a little low on fuel. I hope it's okay we land here. We take the balloon down here. Great opener, right?
Yeah.
Great opener. Well, when you do it every day, you look really bad if people always think you're out of fuel, right?
Yeah.
So I would land somewhere and someone starts coming, they're huffing and puffing. It's like a pissed off person at the door, right? Huffing and puffing, and they're already pissed. And you just landed your balloon in their backyard around their horse. And I was like, I gotta find. So I would just go, if they were like, pissed, I'd be pissed with them. I'd be like, man, I hope it's my name's. I'm so sorry. I hope it's okay. Okay that we land here. I'm really sorry that the horse are a little scared, but I was just really nervous because our power line's up here, and for safety, I really need to just make sure. I really hope it's okay for a safety perspective.
Yeah.
That it's okay that we chose to put it down here. And they would change a little bit. So then all of a sudden my tune changed because I discovered an app. Now the app is gold. And I started giving it to book people and they didn't even understand how cool it was. Like, I don't know why they didn't get it. It tells you everyone's freaking name.
Yeah.
It's a plug, right?
What?
It's called Onyx Maps. Tells you, it's a hunting app, tells you everyone's damn name, right?
Wow.
Okay. So fast forward 2 summers ago, I get this app, right? And I'm telling all these Bulgarian guys about it. I was like, guys who are selling books, I'm like, use this. It's
For
like
names,
$30. You should do it. Like, didn't understand it. And then eventually they started getting it. But I'd land in someone's property, and as I'm coming to land, I'd look up everyone's name.
Yeah.
So I land. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Oh, hey, are you John? Oh, awesome, man. I have always wanted to meet you and land here. I don't know if you know that, like Carol and the Betsworths, you probably know like the Johnson, and I don't know if you know the dairy farmers over here, the Keeler's Dairy, but man, you such a beautiful property. I've always wanted to land here. Would you be okay if we take the balloon down here?
That's funny.
Your Southwestern sales arc, right? It's like, it's
epic.
literally the same thing. And then what do you do?
So when would you approach these people? Like as you're
land,
hovering above them, or what?
I'm either hovering. Well, if you're hovering above their yard, you just yell down and go, "Hey, John, would you be okay if I landed over here?"
Yeah.
No idea who you are, right? You're like, this dude obviously knows my name. Like, so every once in a while, you'll have someone, I'm selling books and they'll go, how do you know my name? Right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a freak out.
I've been talking to everybody.
Dude, there's an app for that. Let me show you. And I literally
That's
just
awesome.
pulled the app and I go, here's all your neighbors. Isn't this an awesome? Are you a hunter, man? Check this out. Like,
Wow.
it's literally just, and then you show them your photos. It's like a demo, right?
Nice.
And the whole goal is when you land there to get to keep that landing spot forever and to get it as a new launch location.
Yeah, get them to fly with
Heck
you.
yeah.
That's a
But now I
fun
do also
recruiting
knock on
process.
doors to find places to launch. So my opener for knocking on doors is I find a big old area on my map and I go, I'd like to launch from there. And I knock on the door and I go, hi, my name's Eliav. I'm actually I don't know if you've seen the hot air balloons around ever. Yeah, I'm actually the balloon pilot. And every once in a while, the winds move in different directions. We're always looking for really fun places to launch. People might not mind it. You guys have such a cool yard. Would you be ever okay if we were like, just launched a balloon from here sometime? If the wind was right? You want me to text you before it? And everyone says yes.
That's
Of course.
so cool.
I'd want to see that. Like, what? That's awesome.
Who doesn't want a hot air balloon in their yard? So anyway,
Right.
I use all this Southwestern skills. Hopefully that was contextual, but I use
Yeah.
the context of approaching in the sales skills specifically in building bots every day and in ballooning and even in the way you sell balloon rides, right? I'll get them excited about it, tell them how amazing it is, ask them some questions, and then I just text them photos of like epic photos.
Demo.
I'm like, just go online and book. I don't even want to take their order over the phone anymore. I hate closing people over the phone anymore because it takes too long.
Really?
I'd rather them just go to the site and like book
Yeah.
and
That's so freaking awesome, man.
So you've been up to that for how long now? Running things on air
I started the
balloons?
balloon company 6 years ago, and then the bot company. This will be my third year building bots, but it'll be our year and a half in. So in a year and a half, we went from I had never gotten a client right for doing chatbots. I just built one for my balloon company. So you do it when you do a new territory, right? You go, well, I'll just knock on some doors. So I found the largest balloon companies in America. Cold called them and just said, hey, I'm a balloonist in Seattle. I built this cool thing. Do you want it? I'll charge you $5,000 a month for it. Got them to sign up. Obviously, it didn't work well because it was early on. They didn't understand what I was doing. And then very quickly, I was like, well, I guess I'll do this for B2B clients. And then within a year, we started signing up public companies. So now we've got 3 Fortune 100 companies that we build bots for. And then about 100 other clients that are mostly like mid-market enterprise. Like I'm talking like, a couple hundred salesperson raised 150 million. That's our kind of our core market that we build for now. But,
wow.
That sounds badass. We'll have to stay in
touch.
touch.
Balloon in the morning, do chatbots all day, sell chatbots, be building them, working with some like giant team. And then at night I'll go and balloon again. So this summer I've got 3 pilots. So I can just go fly the Prime Video balloon every once in a while because it's fun. And who doesn't want to fly the Amazon balloon? And then do some other, working on the business. I have a couple partners, for both of them now. But
super.
Could you send us at some point the link to your websites and to your like all that stuff? So anybody, any alumni that sees us in the Seattle area could
it's so my old site for the bot stuff used to be called ultracool.io because it was like the greatest. My favorite positive affirmation was like, I'm ultra cool.
Jeez, you're so lame.
Super lame, dude. Super lame. But my kids, don't worry, my kids every morning, I have my 5-year-old and 2-year-old, I go, all right, let's do positive affirmations. Well, my son will go, I'm super funky fresh. And then my other son will go, I'm a badass. And then my other son goes, I'm amazing. I'm incredible. I'm vivacious. I'm unstoppable. And then he'll go,
that's awesome.
I'm a napkin. And I'm like, can't totally get those yet. But you know what? So I named it Ultra Cool and realized public companies, I felt like an idiot with my name being called Ultra Cool. So we rebranded and now we're the Bot Lab. So it's the botlab.io. So that's the
Bot Lab, and then the
botlab.io. That's the bot company. And then we build in a couple of different systems depending on people need, like massive Salesforce, Marketo integration, that kind of stuff with routing for sales reps in real time, notifications versus people with like e-com sites who don't want to talk to anyone. Well, then you can just answer every single question. So we build out for a lot more e-com sites or, people who they want people to just buy online, right? But still need questions answered. So, and then the balloons
that
like
is-
Seattle
in the chat.
ballooning. If you're out in Seattle, you can come fly.
That is so awesome, man. If I'm in Seattle, I gotta hit you up and
Dude, I'll throw you in a balloon. Either of you guys want to come out to Seattle? I take
No,
it
I
every
will.
once in a while. I get to take random Southwestern people will book, and it's fun. And I get to take them flying. But otherwise, I'll just take you guys up. If you want to come fly, I'll throw you in a balloon.
yeah.
So.
I'm in because I need an excuse to go to Northwest to go see Whale Metro again. Oh, that's what I was telling you about. That's whenever you guys.
Yeah, I told the story for you, but if you want to share some actual details, that might be helpful.
Oh yeah, I'll just do like the shorter version then. But it was because we were talking about why we started this podcast. And Will introduced me some old book guys, Jacob Schultz, I think. I asked him what his favorite place in town was, and we went to this brewery called Prost. And in order to get like on the wall, you could get a plaque on the wall if you hit like a certain benchmark in the loyalty program. So you have to drink like 500 of these like giant dark German Bock beers, like just massive. And so we were sitting at a table, it was packed back in the days when it was amazingly packed and it was beautiful when people were out. And a year ago, and there was this plaque and it had his name on it. And so when you picked your name, you could also put obviously you could put like a quote. And his quote was, "I will persist until I succeed."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's
awesome.
epic, bro, because people are going to see that and they didn't sell books and they'll go, oh, that's a cool quote. But people who see that and then they're going to know this guy sold books, and then they're going to connect with you. Some people are going to reach out to you. It'll happen. And when it happens, it's going to be a great story. So that's kind of like what inspired. I was sitting there and I sold the story on the podcast before, but essentially I was just super bored and I'm extroverted as hell. And I needed a way to reach out. I think subconsciously I was like, I just need to make a connection. And the best way to do that is when I meet someone who sold books that I haven't talked to. And so that's where the idea was born. And here we are, man.
What would you say of, you've done a lot of these so far. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from talking to all these folks? If there was one thing you'd say that like, this is the biggest takeaway I talked from interviewing all these people, what would you say it is?
Are you talking about like with the relationship to how the podcast is developed, or just like me personally?
Developed, I mean, in general, like what would you say is your biggest, like the things that you've really learned that were substantial or took away from it?
A couple of things, good and bad. This is a great question. Thank you for asking. I'll start with bad and then end with good, so we end on a good note. Bad is the first thing I noticed is how often people say that they stayed one summer too long. About Southwestern in general, which tells me something is wrong there with like or maybe it's not anymore, but because a lot of the people we've talked to sold books like at least 10 years ago. Yeah. A couple were more recent, but well, the ones that were more recent didn't say that. The ones that were like sold books a while ago, almost all of them have said like
the only person that was a while ago was Eliav and Larry so far. Everyone else finished within the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, and funny enough, I was the one that told Sydney year after year after year. I think her fourth summer on, she should stop selling books.
Yeah.
I love Sydney. She's awesome. But literally every year I'd be like, are you sure? Do you really want to? Because you probably shouldn't. Like, but and Sydney's amazing. She's such an incredible woman. But, it's, I definitely follow you. I mean, there was a lot of, I was the person on the alumni side that was just like, hey, you don't have to. Like there are other opportunities. If you're getting your ass kicked and you got crushed and your whole team left, like, dude, you can choose to try and like redeem yourself awkwardly at a company, or you can go and get a job for $120,000, $150,000 a year and go enjoy your life.
Yeah, they really sell that redemption
that day. I was like, go enjoy your life. Like, I think that, and I think Southwestern is amazing until the point where you've decided like, that's it. Like I'm done. You're not motivated. There's no getting you back motivated. And so I think that a lot of people just tried to keep them around because they thought that was helpful, but really it actually makes the whole organization healthier when they go on to do something else.
Yeah. And you keep better relationships. So to continue on with your question and more of a neutral ground, I would say, and the reason I say people who were around a while ago is because I think something happened I may be completely wrong about this, but it seemed to me that something happened at the end of the 2016 summer that kind of like revamped and like got the leadership in the company to kind of look at themselves and be like, what are we doing wrong that people are leaving? Like the Force organization had shrunk, it was almost gone. Like a bunch of other things like that where it was like kind of toxic. And so I mean, for like the people that sold before that time period where things have changed, and I can speak to the changes because my brother's a DSM in there, and then so like I'm very relatively aware of like what's going on or how people are now. But so that was one thing. But then on the positive end is that change was made. It seems to have like really like impacted, because one of the things that I also noticed is like the relationship that Southwestern alumni have with Southwestern is relatively good. Like nobody's really upset that they sold books. Most people would say that they're pretty thankful that the manager that got him into the company got him into the company.
Yep.
But I can also say that there is definitely common thread for the people that quit selling books before 2016 of like this like negative like vibe of almost like we were in a cult. You know what I'm saying? Like like this attitude towards that. And I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think there's something that that Southwestern had to realize, and it's probably some stuff with Dustin as well that shifted some stuff, but I think that they realize like these people are really well trained, and we don't want them to leave. We want them to this as a literally like a farm to farm like amazing people and leaders and keep them in the companies. And you can't do that unless there's too many other opportunities that it's the real deal is how quickly can you get their skill level up to get them to lead and GM in other companies, because selling books, there's a limit, right? Whereas if you're it's a one-time sale. But if you have someone who's building a book of business in the financial services or any of these other different companies, it's worth millions of dollars versus like this little, $20,000, $30,000 of profit that year. And I think that, I think that Southwestern, I brought this up with Henry a long time ago. We talked about it when he was like, yeah, we need like Southwestern people starting companies, and we'll like find some way to put some money into them. I know Todd McWhorter tried to do that too. Cause I think if you took like the three of us or any three book people, you can basically have the skills to go sell stuff and go start a company. You don't have the other skills needed, which are a lot. And I don't have all those skills still. Like I hired people to do them. But, I think that that's where Southwestern had to quickly move was, hey, can we help these people start companies or have something that they want to go to and get them out of selling books while they're when they're not burnt out. Like when they're still excited, we can utilize them and help them be successful and keep them in the family. Because I would have stayed probably.
Yeah. And so on that note, there's like a couple of things that I've kind of like decided and well, like at least from my experience is, for example, in my opinion, and this actually came out in some sort of organization that does this stuff, but Southwestern is like, in my opinion, the best internship that you can do for yourself as a college kid in America, whether you're like personable or not. Like you should I would encourage most people to at least go to an info session, maybe just even go to sales school, see if it's for them, and then decide not to go. However, unless, and you were kind of mentioning this, if your plan is to be in Southwestern for a while, the success rate is actually relatively low. Like out of all the people that I ever sold books with, that I sold books, Nick, don't give me that face. Let me finish. Out of the people, my brother is the only person I know that became a DSM that was around when I sold. Do you see what I'm saying? Like nobody that's a DSM. I mean, I knew Ryan Groom, but he was a little bit before me. AJ was a little bit before
Shane
me.
Blake's a DSM now.
Shane Blake is a DSM now, and I guess Edgar, right? So there's three. Okay. But how many people did I freaking meet selling books? Why isn't there like 100 DSMs, right? So for them, it's a fantastic career. And even still, we were actually talking about this with Josh and Steve Fadden, that even relatively still, the money isn't that good. While my brother makes relatively good money, not only for people in Nebraska, but for people, in the country, the national average, if he had that team that he has now and the effort that he's putting into it every year into like any other company or like some of the companies that I've even worked for or since, he would be murdering it. I'm talking about like millionaire, like multiple million.
That happens all the time. And it was part of that was what I realized, and why I ended up leaving was I realized even if I built this up, I could never sell it, and it wasn't mine. And even though I was kind of independent contractor, but an employee, it was a little bit weird. And so I, you know, and it's funny because I almost actually worked with Dustin straight out of Southwestern with, it was when they were with Southwestern Consulting, they would find a company and get 30% ownership and like help recruit people, all kinds of different stuff. It's a really cool model that they were doing. They still probably do some of that model, but and we wanted to work together. And the only reason I didn't was another guy offered me 150K base to come and build this company with him. And I was like, yeah, like, of course I'm going to go, but I still at 75K versus 40K. I still, for that, even though it was like $30,000 less, I was still willing to work with a Southwestern and with Dustin. And that's what I find interesting. That's how much strength that tie, that bond has. It's worth about 30K is that difference in pay. After 30K, that bond, we're like, let's snip it, right? Because you're like, I can make more money, buddy. But like, I think that,
Yeah, and on that with what you just said, so I went to work for Primerica after you've probably heard of it. And that is one of the things that sold me about them was because you could own it. Like after a certain while, like let's just call it DSL, like they actually gave you full rights and ownership to your base. And so like you could sell it. Like if you quit, or for example, say you died, your wife would get the business, which is like an interesting way of like modeling a company, but it worked wonders. I mean, it was such a good way of doing it. And so I would say Southwestern is still the best internship ever, but it's not necessarily the best career ever. And so that's a big distinction to make.
But I also, there is a fine line there though. If I look at like, if you want to make a difference with young people, with college age kids, there is no thing anyone could do that you get to make a more direct impact on someone's life in both like their finances and their relationships and who they are as a person. I think that's something to really be proud of. I was really, that's why I stuck around for so long. Like I love to be able to help and then see those people be successful. And there is something that's amazing about it that you don't get at other places though, because people just don't care that much.
Yeah, the enrichment of having that impact on a human being is definitely like I agree. I think that in fact that's why I think my brother A does well and B is still around, because he probably knows that he can make more money somewhere else, but I think the impact that he has on the kids that he works with and that he recruits, like they love him. If you meet any of them, the culture that he's created within his organization, which I'm sure is probably now all Southwestern, but specifically in his organization, like they wouldn't leave him because he's become such a good leader, because his desire to pour into them, and so that they kind of goes tandem in that. And so they when you talk to them, they're very sharp kids. They're all really high caliber. They're good book kids, and they don't have that feeling that some of the people that we've had on the cast had of like, I stayed too long, or they definitely talked me into coming back. We've heard that quite a bit. Whereas now, I don't think that that's happening. As I'm sure they're still like trying to like work on retention, but generally speaking, I don't think that the guilt of leaving, the feeling of like I'm going to get shunned if I leave, that FOMO is no longer there.
Yeah, but I also, I used to think when I left Southwestern, I was like, oh man, like these guys don't talk to me as much and all this stuff. And I thought that was Southwestern. It's just actually any company.
Yeah.
But we don't know any different. Like, it's hilarious. Like, we all think we're like so special and like, but I don't know. You guys all probably work for other companies and you leave and like, you're like, I used to talk to these people all the time and I never talked to them. Well, it's just, there's not like a direct reason to always chat. Like you're still cool with each other. Like, it's just, if you see each other at the bar, you'll have a drink, but it's not it's funny how I used to think that was a unique thing to Southwestern, and that I used to be kind of bitter about that. Now I'm like, oh no, that's just every company. So
that's just how it rolls. Yeah. No, that's absolutely correct. That's a fair observation. And I like that, again, it still goes back to the point of like, nobody would be upset with their manager for recruiting them. Like nobody looks back and goes, I hated that experience or whatever. Like it changed our lives, sometimes rarely for worse, but most of the time for better. And it's cool that we were a part of it. That's you're absolutely right. So then when you, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
You're on a steamroll, Andres. So when you're talking about success rates and like other companies and those sorts of things, it's an internship, right? It's not a career that Southwestern is that people get into first. It's an internship. It's something that's meant to be moved on from for the most part. And so what I found very interesting in like the life insurance field, which I spent last year, 2020 working in, is that has like an 8% retention rate. Now, what does that retention rate mean and how long it applies to? I honestly don't know, but my understanding was that's the first year, only 8% continue forward. Now, I was always like told that 30% of first years quit and that kind of stuff. The truth of that, no fucking clue. But to me, like the whole Trey George commit your first year of work with you, they're not going to quit no matter what type thing. That's missing in at least life insurance, if not most other fields where, people just quit left and right all the time because it's just not working out, and so there isn't like this hardcore investment in some like an agent as a person, getting to know them, spending time with them outside of work, that dynamic to me, even though the like success rate that you were talking about, Andres, of how there's so few DSMs, right? So few people make Southwestern a career, but there's still a high retention rate compared to other sales gigs in terms of a successful first summer, I think. I'm not sure. Do you think that's true? I don't know if that really even matters in other industries. Like it's okay if people quit because they weren't good at it. I don't know.
I think you try to get those people to quit at other companies because they cost money.
Exactly.
Like you're paying them a base. If it's I think it's a different situation between a 1099 contractor versus, I've run sales for multiple, like director of sales for multiple companies. And I came in and I was like, this girl was a hairdresser and you hired her and she hasn't sold anything in 3 months. Can we fire her?
Yeah, people aren't on top of like their actual agent or dealer production.
Like so some of those like you want to get rid of and like find, and I it was a Mark Rao quote, which for good or bad, he goes, you run with the thoroughbreds and you pet the donkeys.
All right.
And I always, at first I really hated that quote because I was like, that's such an asshole thing to say for Southwestern people. But in the real world, that's what you do. You run with your thoroughbreds and you pat the donkeys and you get them out and you find other thoroughbreds to build an organization that's jamming. If someone is just getting their ass kicked over and over and over again and can't make it work, that doesn't mean they're a bad person, a bad salesperson. They just need to find a different company that has similar goals where they fit into those to be successful, or something that they can get excited about, or there's just other stuff going on in their lives, that it just isn't a fit right now. And they should find something that's not sales. I mean, and I think I say that a lot to people when Southwestern people call me and they go, or any friend, but especially Southwestern, they go, well, what should I do? Like, do you have any leads or jobs? And I go, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to do annoying enterprise sales? Do you want to do transactional sales? Do you want to do something fun? Do you want to have a bunch of red tape? Like, what do you want to deal with? And from there, you can give them 20 different things they can do, and then you can connect them with. And I just, even if they interview with 5 of my buddies, great. But I just want them to, I'm like, do something that at least is half as fun as what you enjoy doing. And that's my rule. This is the rule you guys should make for your lives too, which everyone should. My rule is if work isn't half as fun as hot air ballooning, I will not do it, including any activity in that job, which is why I don't work.
I'm a big fan of this input. This is very nice. Keep going.
So if you have to at least 50% as what you enjoy doing. Building bots is 50% as fun. The second it is no longer fun, I'm done. I'm literally out. I work for big startups, and I literally told this guy, Avi, in New York, he had hired me to like start his sales for his company and, paid me a lot of money to fly out there every week. I was flying from Seattle to New York. And I go, Avi, I'm not willing to do anything that is not fun. That is literally what I told him as part of the interview process. I'm like, I'm not willing to do busy work. And if something is not fun, I will not do it. You can find someone else to do that. And he was like, Eliav, everyone has to do things they don't like doing. I said, no, I don't. I do not do I don't like doing. And I go, if I don't like doing Salesforce, I'm not going to do my Salesforce stats. Now, if you can help me find a reason why I should do it, how it's going to help me, you can motivate me to do my Salesforce, right? But like and eventually he tried to recruit me and I go, to be honest, Avi, selling this is not as fun as doing hot air ballooning. You cannot pay me any amount of money, any amount, to have me not fly hot air balloons this next summer. And he said, are you sure? And I was like, yes. And he went on to raise,
I like this.
he went on to raise a shit ton of money. He's very successful. I would have made a good amount of money. And you know what? I wouldn't have had fun. And I have zero interest. And that's what I took away from selling books. If you are not enjoying what you are doing in your life, you're doing something wrong. And if you're at a job that is, it's not half as fun as what you enjoy doing, you should find something else or go start your own business or do something you're at least somewhat inspired about. You know,
that's very Todd McWhorter advice. I remember that was
Todd
his
McWhorter
big
and I are super good friends, and that's probably where he rubbed off on me. I lived with him for a while.
We got to get Todd on the podcast.
Todd's so cool.
Give him a strong recommendation, Eliav.
Coolest.
We're cool.
You know who else? Who's all at same level? Who you need is Quail Hodak. Do you guys know Quail?
No.
I've known about this guy for so long.
Quail is a good buddy of mine. Quail is freaking, I'll connect to him. I mean, he sold his, I don't know what he's up for doing, but he sold this company for like 50 or $100 million in the, you know, he talks about his whole experience going ups and downs, married a wonderful woman, and he had met at Burning Man. Like he is like absolutely just a fun, funny, amazing, infectious kind of dude. And him and Todd McWhorter are just like, you know, when you're ready for like that very deep, just fun level, like guys, they're definitely good people.
That's awesome, man. Okay, hold on. So I think I would, these stories have been, first of all, I think we need to have you on in the cast multiple times because you have so much good input. This is like great stuff.
Well, that's what I mean, I watched some of the others and some of them were really cool and really good. And a lot of them are like, did you get off schedule? Like I mean, I one time like ate chips at a gas station, jalapeno cheddar chips for like an hour, was so scared to knock on a door. This is my 6th summer. And then made myself go knock on a door, the most awkward demo ever, and then started working some more. Like that was my like being off schedule was like everyone goes through that. And one day going surfing and eating sushi my 9th summer after I'd already crushed and everyone went home. And I was like, I'm just gonna go surfing and eat sushi. There was no like, it was mostly
that's epic.
It was epic, but it was mostly like I look at those stories, I'm like, I had to pull those stories out of people to help them. Like that when they're telling their off schedule stories, that's after the fact. The powerful people in Southwestern are the ones that can like get them to own up to like going to 4 movies that week after they had a 0 week and they like had sex with some other kid in the org and they own up to that. And then they go and sell 300, 400 units as a first year. Yeah. That's what got me excited. And I've never been able to do that in an outside situation outside of Southwestern, because those are not like, they're just personal issues people deal with. You can try, but it's not that same relationship. Yeah. You know, to like what's stopping them. You can try to motivate them, but it was, you know, I find that interesting. So I think on a lot of the podcasts you guys are doing, it's amazing of the stories, but it's how you take these things back into your life and apply them. And I think that's the difference of someone being successful out of Southwestern and someone sucking. You can sell books for 9 summers. And I saw a girl do that who sucks at sales. And she did terrible when we recruited her to a company because she was comfortable selling books.
Interesting.
Whereas someone who sold books 2 summers,
I know what you're getting at.
They just take the skills and they apply them and they use the.
And it's off to new challenges and new horizons, and instead of staying in the same comfort zone.
Yeah, but and then there's also the 9, 10, 11 summer, and those people are always doing something fucking awesome. I don't care who they are. I don't know anyone who sold 8, 9, 10, 11 summers that doesn't like own their own company, crushing it, who has a lot of fun in life. Not that you have to do that, but like those guys jam. You know, it's a weird league of people. You just have a weirder skill set. You know,
it's a different caliber of person. Yeah. Like not like a better person, but just a different breed of human. You're a different person.
Todd McWhorter breed. Like it's that, you know, that style of breed of people that those are the ones I surrounded myself that became friends with. And I'm like, these guys are freaking awesome.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and this is like, this episode so far has been like the ideal, besides the technical difficulties, but this has been like the ideal like cast. This is like when I first pitched it to Nick about doing this, I was like, I want just to meet like some sharp, I bet you, because there's so many alumni in there that we don't even know who are just super cool people who went on and did great things and have amazing stories to tell, have a great like, you know, have a great perspective on Southwestern, in that they knew that it was a really good thing for them, but that also recognize its imperfections and we're okay with them and can discuss them. This is great. I want to hear, you were telling us about the Mad Crapper story. You had you were telling us about a host family story, and then I think you had a pony story. Like, I need to hear these now.
Yeah.
Based
So,
on how you've been
okay.
telling
So this
us.
is probably my favorite. I have two favorite stories from when we were selling in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And we were staying in a host home that Marcel Mayer had found, and he had stayed in like a couple of years back. And like somehow we ended up, it was this nice old couple, and it's the first week. And there was this kid who his dad sold books as well. So his dad sold books like 30 years earlier. Kid was really excited. Got in like a car accident, like on the way to sales school. So he had to have a bike, and his dad was driving his car out. So in the middle of that, it's like the middle of the maybe 5th or 6th day. And I'm working right in the territory. So I finished right at like, I have calls to do, whatever, stat calls, get home like right at 9:38, right? There's I don't think he would care if I say his name, whatever. Anyway, basically he's sitting there on the couch, and I'm like, dude, what happened? And he goes, well, he's like, I was out in front of this house and I really had to go to the bathroom, and I was walking, you know, and I kept knocking on doors to try and like use a bathroom. No one would let me in. And there was this girl who had this house, and she said, no, you can't. I had to go to the bathroom, man. I had to go. So I went in the car, did my business. And then I obviously had to go to the, you know, somewhere to clean myself up. So he goes, I go to the gas station, clean myself up, walk out, and my cell phone rings, and they say, hi, this is Pittsburgh Police Department. Is this blank, his name? And he goes, yes. They go, don't move. Where are you at? And he's like, oh God. So they come and they write him a violation for that literally said, defendant defecated on Clayton's property. Note, most disgusting thing I've ever seen. That's what the ticket for $300 said. Anyway, he goes, how did you find me?
Only $300?
He goes, your backpack, which is book bag, he had left right next to the in there because he didn't want to carry it. Right. So anyway, the girl, I guess, had called him in for crapping in her yard. Right. So anyway, so I was like, hey, like, let me take care of, you know, whatever. Like, Chris Fugman, I think, may have paid the fine just so he could put it on his wall, possibly, of the you know, the citation, which is hilarious. Anyway, the next day we're out and I'm knocking on doors, and all of a sudden some lady goes, wait, is this like part of the Mad Crapper? And I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, check this out. In the newspaper, literally, there was an article talking about a fly-by-night, the Mad Crapper, who had been crapping in people's in their lawns.
I want to do that for a summer instead of selling books.
Was awesome. So he's known as the Mad Crapper, which is hilarious. Anyway,
the poop that went viral before the internet.
So funny.
That's epic.
Then there was another one where, like, just I mean, these are all just like first years of where we had to deal with stuff. So there was another one where my buddy Greg, who I'd recruited from UConn, super sharp dude, who very successful. He'd be a good person to have on, just as like sold 3 summers, but just like, man, he is incredible in who he is and what he does. So incredibly well spoken. Anyway, and I met him being drunk at my sister's graduation. And then I just talked to him about selling books. We were drunk, and then he came to sales school the next week. It was pretty wild. Sold books to me for 3 summers, recruited a bunch of guys. Weird. Anyway, so Greg's out selling books. We're in Houston, Texas, and he is just jamming, right? Finally just gotten going his like third week, right? You know, your third week, you're like finally excited, or fourth week.
Yeah.
You're starting to crush it. And
Time to jam.
I call him on his phone. I go, please let him be on the cell phone, because the police had stopped me. And I had a first year with me. This guy, Jared Goff, I think, was following me. And the police go,
Did you say Jared Goff, the quarterback for the LA Rams?
yeah, but his name is also Jared Goff. It's
That's
kind of
awesome.
funny. He had a brother too. So like, anyway, so definitely not the same person. Anyway, so the police, like, after we come out of the house after I just sold some books, and they're like, oh, I guess you're not these people, this guy. And I was like, what guy? And he goes, oh, like, there's some guy who's been like, you know, like making them way into girls' houses and like molesting them or something. I was like, well, can I see, you know, I'm just curious. Can I see I see a lot of people out. Literally pulls up the Crime Stoppers drawing. It's my roommate.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh God. So
Shit.
I was like, you need to go to freaking work. He was the second year anyway. I was like, dude, you need to go back to work. I got to deal with this. So I call Chris Fugman, talk to Dan Moore, like whole thing, figure out what I'm doing. I go, let me see if I can get a hold of his cell phone. Call Greg. He answers. Not supposed to have cell phones on, but he answered. I go,
Fuck.
thank God you answered. I go, are you? He goes, dude, I'm busting through this Mexican neighborhood. I'm crushing it. So excited. And I go, don't move. Sit down under a tree. Do not knock on another door. I'm coming to get you.
Don't move. Oh my
So
gosh.
I come and get him, and I had a copy of it that we had looked up online. Literally, it's his face, but it was from, they were confused. It was something that happened 6 weeks before we had even gotten out there. Someone thought it was the same person, gave him description. Now his face was on it. So that was really
Holy
entertaining dealing with that. And then just, you know, all the challenges that came around that. And then it all of a sudden changed to his name is Eliav and he has a black Nissan Maxima. So, you know, it was a really entertaining summer. But the last story I'll tell, which is and then I'll tell you one of the pony story is same summer in Pittsburgh, same different UConn student. This guy named Vlad who,
That's a good name.
Smartest kids I ever met. You know, head of the newspaper, UConn. His vocabulary was so large. Like, I didn't know.
So you did nothing but read Mufus all summer, right?
Oh my God. So
I'm just kidding.
he's selling in Pittsburgh. I've got him in this area up north and he goes, Eliav, like people don't have checkbooks, they don't have money. I'm like, they do. I'll go follow you and see if it's like really that bad. Well, it was bad, but it wasn't like terrible, right? Like people, like we sold some books here and there. And so he starts getting excited. Anyway, next day after that, I get a call from Nick, who's now the magician. And Nick goes, hey, Vlad didn't come home. And I was like, what do you mean he didn't come home? He's like, I don't know. He's not. So they start looking for him. All of a sudden I get a call from a bails bondsman. So the bails bondsman, he goes, yeah, Vlad is, this is Friday evening. Okay. He goes, yeah, he's in, he's in jail. I'm the bails bondsman. I go, okay. Like, I've dealt with this before with book people, hey, what is what happened? And he goes, well, I can't really run into it too much, but here are the charges. And I go, great. I'll come and bail him out. Right. I go, what's the bail? And he goes, $10,000.
Oh my.
That's quite the severe bail right there.
$10,000? What did he do? So
Oh no.
anyway, apparently the story, it took all weekend to get him out, but he basically, two cops come up to him and they go, sir, where's your permit? He goes, I don't need a permit. I have the interstate commerce clause, and starts just like going on about interstate commerce. And then he goes, so I can do anything I want. They literally got him for like trespassing, resisting arrest. They at the poor kid. So anyway, it's like, I finally go to pick him up on Sunday. I can't remember if it was me or whoever it was. And
hey, Vlad's not here for the Sunday meeting. We're gonna pick him up in a little bit. He's switching host families.
Yeah, it was bad. So anyway, so we finally got all the charges dropped on Monday. I guess it was Monday. Charges dropped, got him out, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, and so we're doing our Sunday PC, right? He goes, Eliav, I had a pretty good week, even though I was in jail. And I was just trying to get my demos done, man. And there was just like 3 guys, and I kept doing my pitch over and over again to these 3 guys. And it reminds me of you talking about like your grocery store, like talking at a grocery store, trying to like sell books.
Just walking through Walmart trying to sell
Yeah,
books.
Walmart
Yeah,
trying to
I
sell
did
books.
that my
And
first
he goes,
day of my third summer.
but seriously, all 3 of them are going to buy from me when they get out. And then he goes, and then he wrote a letter, which was hilarious. Because you write a letter to your DSM.
To your DSM,
He, like,
yeah.
In
written
jail.
his letter about all the stuff he had done in jail, keep you a positive attitude, all this stuff. Anyway,
Wow.
just a
my
funny story,
God.
but like there were so many like funny, hilarious things that happened, but it was mostly in the end, it ended up being, once you're in OL for 3 years, you're just like, you've heard everything. So you're just like, okay, who do you have sex with? What like weird thing do you do that you're not proud of? Like, just tell me. So like, I don't even care. Just tell me so like you can go crush it this week. And if you don't want to crush it, don't tell me. Just let me know if you want to jam or not. And that was literally all my
Awesome.
PCs at that point. So anyway,
Wow.
That's
Tony story.
great.
I think I've got a couple of really fun ones. I think my favorite one was there was this girl, Kelsey, who it was her first summer and she had not sold a single, like was just getting ass kicked in California. We were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Again. That same third summer now. I guess I was in Palo Alto, Menlo Park. Anyways, where I was selling. And
Where my roommates are from is
I
kind of
crushed
that
that.
area.
I loved selling rich, smart people. It's so fun to
Right?
sell. That's so easy.
Massachusetts is good for that.
Dumb people who don't get education. So anyway, we go up to this door and she had not sold anything all week, right? So obviously she's a little off schedule too, but we go up to this house. I knock on the door and the lady just yells, "Come on in." So I'm like, great.
I love those.
Walk in the door.
It's always a great
right?
story.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm the bookman.
Well, I've got one over there. I'll tell you after that. So anyway, we end up walking in, sit down at the kitchen table. I go, yeah, I'm just showing some books. She goes, okay. I look over to my right. There is these cardboard boxes like stocked up, like organized, like 10, 12 feet in this weird, like castle rocket type shape. And I'm like, what is that about? Right? Because I'm just like, I'll just ask weird questions. I don't care. So she goes, oh yeah, like my 6-year-old really likes to build things. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, how's he doing school? She goes, well, like he keeps getting kicked out of school because he keeps like biting and kicking and threatening the teachers and other kids. And I was like, all right. And I'm like, well, I've got some like educational books. And she goes, yeah, like the only thing he's really interested in is like how to like make bombs. Like, do you have any bomb recipes? And I'm like, what is going on? Like,
Let me find the Explore and Learn that talks about explosives.
Kelsey's looking at me like, what is going on? So I go, well, we've got a chemistry section. So I literally start showing the chemistry section from the VLs, right? The volume libraries. Anyway, she goes, that's cool. What else do you have? I'm like, well, I've got these. And she goes, what else do you have?
This is
Every
great.
time
Yeah.
she goes to me, she'd say, what else do you have? And then she goes, well, how much is everything? And I was just like,
oh my God.
$1,400 or whatever it was dollars. And she goes, okay, do you want a credit card? And Kelsey was like,
No, checkbook.
Unfair. Like, this is
Right.
unfair that like the kid is, she goes, you just created the next Unabomber, Eliav. I was like,
But, hey, but it was 97
That's funny.
units.
yeah. So then the other one of just randomly walking into a house, also a pony story. I knock on the door and she goes, oh, come on in. And she just starts walking me back. And so I just follow her back to the computer room and sit down on the couch. This is like deep in her house. And she goes, yeah, the computer's over here. Here's the stuff. And I go, I think you have someone confused of who I am. I am the book guy. And she gets like, real like, oh God, wide-eyed, who I just let into my house. And I go, I'm just selling educational books. You probably know all these people. And eventually like she warms up because she knows some of the people. And and eventually she ends up buying books just so she could tell the story to her friends. Like she lets them like random dude in the house, but like
heck yeah.
Right.
And I'd love to say that there were a lot of like that I was one of those guys who like after selling nothing all day, I could somehow my last house drop a bag. I didn't. I was always envious of those guys who were such good salespeople, that could do that. Like Steve Mann, he's another guy you should get on. Steve Mann, I remember hearing a story. Goes, I'm sitting on zero and it's 9:30 and I go to a trailer and literally the mom buys $1,400 of books and I go next door and she buys another $1,400 and I finish with 230 units. And I'm like,
Jesus.
screw you, Steve. I've
Yeah.
never done
Right?
that.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of those. It was kind of like, like most people at 8 o'clock, I'd start freaking out and I go, oh man, like I have to do something. But it's, I believed it my first couple summers and then at points like I just couldn't, it was hard at 9:30 to go, I'm going to keep going when I have other shit to do. Like I'll just leave my 24, 48 units for the day and deal with the
managing
fact that,
first years. Yeah.
I was off today. But with the belief that tomorrow I'm going to hit probably 400 units because I literally got all the no's out of the way. So, it's,
Right.
yeah. Did you guys ever pet doors? Like actually pet the same door every morning?
There were definitely some doors that I singled out just so that I could get that early knock or that late knock. I didn't make it a big consistent thing. It was like usually like if I'm just in one area for a little bit.
Those people were that like every morning at 7:31, Eliav shows up to their door with a barking dog underneath the stairs, and I pet their door a little bit at 7:31 on the way to my territory. I did the same house every day my first summer, so I could say I knocked in at 7:31.
Saturday mornings were rough to like even through like 9 o'clock sometimes because people like to sleep in and you would like
you'd wake some people up.
Oh, the live video ended.
No, it didn't. It's still on.
Something says live video has ended. What the heck?
It says it's still jamming on here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I got it pulled up. How about any like crazy sexy encounters on the book field? Like any particularly tempting moms or anything like that? I know that people in your age group have some pretty wild stories that I've heard of.
For the most part, it was, I remember, was that Devin? I can't remember who it was, but it was his first day. And I was like, oh yeah, just go in the backyard, man. Just walk right into the back. If you can hear them back there talking.
Oh
and
my
it was
God,
two half naked moms, and they were pretty surprised on that. But he's like, I saw a nipple. Like we had goals every day just to see, mom bends down, like trying to grab the kid and, see too many nipples. But I never had any moms try to go after me. I really, I definitely, I would have moms call other moms, and one mom said like, he's not hard on the eyes, like that didn't hurt, but it was for the most part,
pretty tame.
It was really just like, my goal was, can I get a freaking like the principal and the second grade teacher who'd been there for 30 years? Because then I know I'll have like 10, 15 customers for the day and I'll crush it if I can get those on. And, that was what I was more than, never, I guess I just wasn't smart enough or like, whatever to like be that person who like moms thought they could somehow pick up or something.
I know that Andres had a few moms come on to him.
Andres is one good looking dude. He's like a good looking Colombian, sex man. Like, you can't like.
It's the mocha. It's the.
I don't know.
So this is a fun story with do you know Andres Rincon?
I had been talked to about him before, and I think I might have came across him, but not that I could like point him out of a crowd.
Too, and Andres and I, he was the one that we went surfing and ate sushi that day because we just never left the couch, and it was like 7:40. And I go, "Are you working today?" And he goes, "No." I go, "You want to go surfing and eat sushi?" And I was like on my 9th. He was on his 7th summer. It was best day ever, right? Anyway, so during that day, I was like, well, we should at least go try and like sell some books real quick. Like, at least we don't both have 0 days. Like, you just say you're following me. So we go to this house, and this guy's name is, last name is Leitner, right? Big house, basketball court, Duke blue. I don't know if you've ever heard of Christian Leitner, not Christian Leitner, that I called by the wrong name, didn't know who he was. And we walked into his house, and Andres goes, "This is Christian Leitner's house, like Hall of Famer, like part of the dream team." I had 0 idea And I'd
Oh,
literally been
damn.
calling him by the wrong name when I met him. And then his wife had like twin 7th grade girls at the time, bought like $600-700 worth of books. And then I used that name, but I kept calling him Leitner because I forgot how to say his name properly. I mean, there were a lot of those.
No.
Just like, but those were the days like you're like, all right, let's just go and try to hit up Rothenberger's house. If you're in, if you're in Philadelphia, like Pittsburgh, like
Yeah.
you just save those for fun days. And you have a manager just to see if you can sell them books. They always bought, right? And you just pretend you don't know who they are.
Yep.
You go to the door and you're like, my name's, they go, my name's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
cool. Am I supposed to know you? Like,
Did you? So that was a famous person that you sold to, or that you met. The most famous person I loved it when you ran into like famous people. My brother knocked on Kevin Bacon's house, but he didn't come to the door, but he was at his house.
Wait, him too?
For,
I knocked on
Huh?
Kevin Bacon's door.
yeah, in upstate New
That's
York.
fun.
And
It's in Connecticut.
the most famous, or it might have been, I don't remember where Danny sold, but the most famous person I sold to, or like I knocked on or actually talked to, was Mario Andretti.
what?
Yeah,
that's
and I'm a
funny.
huge Formula One fan. So like I mean, it was in
Wow.
Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and he apparently just like goes and gets ice cream in that town and just like hangs out, like super nice to people, very humble dude. And I was selling in the street that he was working in, and people were like, "Have you been to the big house?" And I'm like, "No, who is that?" And they're like, "It's Mario Andretti." And I was like, "Wait, like the Formula One champion, like driver?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so I said, "Okay, I'll be right back." And I mean, he's way too old to buy books, but I'm like, I gotta just go knock on this door. Like, you don't just not knock on Mario. So I show up, and his wife is outside. She's smoking a fat stogie. Obviously, they're Italian, right? They're so for context, and she's just sitting there, fat. And I pull up, and I'm like, hello, I think I might be at the wrong place. I'm just selling books. And she's like, not here, but there might want some next door. And then he comes at us like, because he saw I pulled up. He's like, "Oh, everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just Andres, selling books. Wait, are you Mario Andretti?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Damn, I'm a huge fan. I'm a Formula One."
Nice.
Yeah. And then the reason she said next door is because his son Michael Andretti lives next door, and he had
Wow.
kids. And so I went over, and his gate was closed, and so I didn't get to go in there. But it was the most famous person I think I've met knocking doors.
So I kept in my second summer in Fremont, California, I kept knocking on MC Hammer's house over and over. Every day I'd go to
Yes.
the goddamn gate. He never let me in. I kept trying. I was like, I want to meet MC Hammer. I did sell to the CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield, and that was
Oh,
a gate
that's big.
ring. And I just used names, and she let me in, and it was a marble house, it was the enormous property. It was out in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and that was like the most wealthy person and she bought, she's like, "What should I buy?" I was like, "How about these things?" And she just got some cash, and gave it to me. But there was my favorite story was actually Peter Stoyloff, who's a good dude to have on too some point. He sold for
Yes.
6 or 7 summers. Peter sold LeBron James books and didn't know who LeBron James was, I think,
Wait,
at the time.
You fucking kidding
Like-
me?
And called him. He goes, "Yeah, I think it was some famous guy, but his name is like James LeBron or something."
No
So
freaking
here's what's
way.
crazy: his girlfriend at the time, because it was when they were redoing their house, and it was like this 5,000 square foot house, smaller house, and his girlfriend answered the door and gave the credit card, and the credit card declined because for whatever reason. So he called up, and LeBron James gave him a credit card. I can't remember the whole story. I may be telling it wrong, but
That's crazy.
at the end of the summer, he got a photo and all kinds of stuff. But I always found that those guys, the less you know who they are, the cooler they are. They appreciate that you don't know who they are. Because I have famous people come with me ballooning all the time.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just fuck with them because they're huge football players. And I go, "Oh, are you do you like bowling or something? You're huge, man." And they're obviously a Seahawks player. I'm just not going to go "Hey, do you play for the
Yeah.
Seahawks?" They're there to do a balloon ride. And
Don't need to pet the ego.
or
Yeah.
I had, all these, famous soccer players, from, they come and fly with me too, from the women's team that won the world champions. And, her and her girlfriend had come fly.
No
I can't remember their
way.
names anymore. But I didn't know who they were either. I'm flying the balloon, and she goes, what is this over? I'm just curious if I get to practice. I was like play practice? She's like, soccer. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Do you play like intramural or? I had no idea who it was. And she was like a gold medalist.
Pick
like,
up.
Wow.
Some girl. I don't know.
Like Rampino, the one with the hair.
Yeah. It's her girlfriend. So I actually think I have a photo.
She flew on your hot air balloons?
Yeah. So I took her and her girlfriend balloon. Let me see if I can find the video of her. Where is it? It'd take me a while.
She's a badass.
But yeah, it was Megan and her girlfriend, who is also a soccer, a big English soccer player.
Yeah.
Her girlfriend, long brown hair, nice chick. But yeah, she's just wearing like a Nike blackout, black sweats and sweatshirt. And we went flying in the Green River, and I touched the water and had a great flight. And once I found out she was a professional soccer player, I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't make sure it's a real damn soft landing, because if I hurt her, people are gonna hate me.
Yeah, you'll ruin the soccer team.
It's the same reason I didn't, like we're friends with KJ Wright from the Seahawks, and I've taken his wife and daughter flying, and he crewed for me with my wife driving the truck, and KJ just picked up the whole hot air balloon with one arm. And I was like, KJ, stuff doesn't work out. You can always come crew for me.
Yeah, man.
Really good dude, but like just a great guy. Like so that's why I love ballooning too. It's like you get to meet just like fascinating, interesting people.
Yeah.
You got to get Russell Wilson on your balloon. He'll him and Sierra, they got to come on your balloon. I'll join you for that one. Just
the way you do that is you get my buddy, his who he used to work with, that's his brother-in-law. So he's connected. He's a good dude too, this guy Christian. But the way that you do it is you have a nonprofit. So this is how I try to meet famous people all the time. This is my secret. Ready? Don't tell anyone my total secret. I don't care.
We're just only telling the world.
Here's how nonprofits need to raise money, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants people to donate expensive, cool things like hot air balloon rides. I get 200 letters a month, 200 to 300 phone calls a month, emails, people wanting me to donate balloon rides. So I just say,
interesting.
Hey, you can do it at a discount of 25%. You can sell it. You'll make a couple $100 for your nonprofit. I go, but if you really want to crush it, do you know any celebrities or famous people? And then they say yes. And I go, you probably have other people who want time with them, who want to meet them. Maybe they're a big CEO of a company. Maybe they're a celebrity. Buy a private hot air balloon ride. It's $1,400 for the sunrise flight. I'll give it to you for $1,000. And then you'll be able to sell it for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So I help nonprofits raise ridiculous amounts of money by helping them understand how to do it. And I just tell them, you find your own damn celebrity, because I'm not giving you mine. But I think it's cool enough to get to fly with me. I'm a celebrity, right?
Yeah, right.
But like that's the way you do it. And so I end up meeting some really interesting people that way too, who buy those at the events, and I get to make a difference, and it's fun. But that is so crazy. And I land at celebrities' places on purpose too, like because I look them up on the map where they live, so I can land in their yard.
Nice.
Yeah.
The best way.
Sorry, Russell.
Land a hot air balloon in your yard.
Are you Russell? Oh my God, look at you.
So they unfortunately I've looked up all their properties, but I went to KJ's wedding, so I got to meet a lot of them, which was neat. But the guy I'm trying to land at, his property is it's the general manager of the Seahawks, and he's got a 50-yard field as part of his property.
So big the perfect land and takeoff spot.
So I fly over it every once in a while. So I'm just going to go, once they move in, I'm going to go land there. So otherwise I just text like different guys from the Seahawks that I have friends. I do go, hey, I flew over your general manager's house again. Here's a photo. Like,
that's fun.
But one of these days I'll land there when he's actually home, and, maybe take his family up or see if I can launch him there sometime. So.
Damn, dude. Okay, well, hold on a sec. So I gotta hop off. Nick, I have to hop off because I have to have a commitment at 9. But here's a couple things. One, I need to have you back on here. Would you be open to that?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about and to drive some really. I think there'd be some interesting conversations with a couple people together that were all like OWEIS working together and talking about some of those different experiences. I think there's different levels in the podcast you'll get. Now I run the ballooning podcast where I do this with hot air balloon pilots from across the world, 500 to 1,000 of them, obviously, that listen to what I do. But what I do is I bring on, like, if I'm doing about hot air ballooning competition, I bring on the national champion of competition. I bring on the head of the competition division from the Balloon Federation of America. I bring in the women's world champion.
Yeah.
And I have 3 of them on there to then ask questions. They can ask each other questions, chat about stuff. Because instead of just the 2 of you guys, it creates a different experience with 2
Yeah.
or 3.
Yeah.
And also then you can, you know, even if it was combating like someone who jammed with student handbooks and someone who's obsessed with the VLs, like do a jam out of why the other one sucks. That'd be hilarious. I think that you should have like, but doing ones like that are around specific themes.
Yeah.
I think you'll find will be really fascinating to people who
I
go,
like this.
this
Yeah.
is cool because I want to listen to this theme of like the best ways to like, what were the best how you had the best PC conversations and how you now utilize those in your job as a sales director, manager.
Definitely
Now
use
let's
those
go
skills.
through those and how you utilize and go this, because then it's like you're bringing value to those people as well.
Absolutely.
Versus just like, hey, this is fun and cool. Like, and there's some context we talked about that I think is fascinating. You know, that we didn't go like really deep into contextual bots, and like I can show you some of the why we do that, which is interesting. But I think if you find like themes around it, it'll be really fun. And you can connect it back to what we're actually doing in life. And then that becomes more interesting of a real following where you go,
that traction begins to truly build. Yeah.
Versus just like, hey, here's fun, cool stories. And as you guys start to shift, that's what I did. I first was just doing interviews, asking like some dude's weird adventures in Antarctica, flying hot air balloons, still cool, right? But when I started getting, and I get like 10, 15 people, to get hundreds, it was you're bringing real value from here's what I learned.
Thank you for this input.
How
Yeah.
I applied it in specific situations.
Yeah.
And I think people will be into that. I really do. And I think you can then do it through through Zoom where you invite people based on the email so they register for it. Start to build the email list up so people really know it's up and coming. And that's how then each week you can go, here's what we're going to talk about.
Nice.
If you're a salesperson, here were like the top people and the people that were at Southwestern who now are number 1 at their company, and how then they apply certain skills or how they utilize. So you have a familiar like training, or like people own their own small businesses now and how you apply those things you've learned from Southwestern, but specifically what you do to now crush it. Like that's interesting for me that I'd like to hear, because I think it's actually valuable versus it's still valuable and interesting. It's just, there's no reason to come every week to go, what am I going to learn besides like hearing someone else's stories? And I think that's the way you scale this, where then other people want to listen in that didn't sell books, which was one of your goals, Andres, right?
Yeah.
It's like other people should be interested. They're not interested in the funny stories. They're interested in what are the success principles and the things that you learned, and then how do you apply those, and how can I apply those same skill set in something I'm doing to crush it in my job, and or my business or something. There's something there that I think is going to be where this will start to shift, and you'll start to turn into something really powerful. I think that's where it starts.
Yeah, I'm super open to all that stuff, and like again, I would like to have even just a conversation with you, just to pick your brain a little bit about how you were able to scale your podcast. That'd be awesome. And also just to have to see who else you think we should invite, because I love, part of what I love about this is I'm catching up with people I know, and I'm excited about those guests, and it's great. But some of this, part of what's made this fun is I've actually met people who I didn't know a month ago, you know, and such crazy stories and such amazing like backgrounds. And what you've done, for example, is such an amazing thing where you took what you know, there are other guests as well, but like, it's just that you're someone who I've never met, you know, and so that feeling of meeting them for the first time on the air or like while we're live is such a cool concept to me about this podcast. And so I for sure want to keep that up. So yeah, I look forward to keep talking to you, and man, like such a cool thing that we did in college that has, like, in what world would I meet you? I was born in Colombia, you're in Seattle, and you did all, you know, it's because of Southwestern that we came together. And I don't know your kids' names. I don't even know your wife's name. You don't know my siblings' names, but we have this bond because we sold
Right.
books,
It's
and
as if
just
we're like
cool.
tight friends, even though we literally know nothing about each other.
Yeah.
That's like and like in 5 years, you can come back and like hang out with your old Southwestern buddies. You haven't talked to them like 10 years and you're like super tight somehow. Like
Nice.
nothing
Hell
has
yeah.
changed.
That's just
I
how
would
it is.
definitely suggest having Nate Foss and Shane.
Yeah.
Shane Weathers.
Yeah.
Did you message me about them? Was that you?
No, but you should.
Somebody else did.
Dude,
And
they are
somebody-
the
that-
two
Nate Foss
funniest
has-
guys together. I would watch that entire thing for 5 hours because they're
We need to
freaking
find
hilarious.
them.
The other guys that you need to definitely have on together would be I'll connect you with Nick Roy because he's just freaking a cool magician. He'll do some magic stuff for you too, probably.
Yeah,
some
bring
fun.
him on.
Quail Hodak.
And then Quail Hodak and Todd McCord.
Todd?
I mean, they're
Yeah.
two. Each one of them is so good in what they do. They have to be individual ones, but I would find like those people together that work together for multiple summers because you'll find that it'll be a different dynamic that'll be really fun. I think.
Okay. And
yeah.
I have some ideas that we could talk about after,
Yeah, sure.
I'll schedule you like maybe like a Zoom with Nick, and if we can, to like actually just talk about podcasting things that I have some ideas that I have for this to run by you and see what you think, and kind of maybe if you could point me in the right direction. Doesn't have to be too long, but that would be great. But as far as like
We'll stay in touch.
for tonight, as far as for tonight, man, this is I'm pissed off about my technological problems that I had.
Get that new computer.
But, the new computer's on its way. I'm getting anyway, so working on that and just eating problems for breakfast, bookman style. But thank you so freaking much, man. This is
It was awesome meeting both you guys, and it was fun. And if there's another time that you want to do a deep dive into like how you do context and then bring that into a chatbot world of Southwestern exact context. I'm putting together a TED talk right now about that specifically with that. And then the other one is why I'm afraid of heights and I'm a hot air balloon pilot.
Nice.
So that's the two TED talks I'm working on right now for TEDx that I'm applying is specifically around contextual in how chatbots and selling books and how working 80 hours a week selling books door to door creates is why we create the best contextual chatbots because of that. Because of transactional sales understanding. So
that is
Andres, get out of here. You got your time commitment.
Yeah,
I'll talk to y'all in the future.
Awesome,
I'll
guys.
upload
Cheers.
this episode tonight. All right. See you in the chat.
See you guys. Oh, so great. Oh, love this.